long time. The problem is that, well, not the problem, but what the reality is that the crisis is finally brushing off the velvet veneer on the top and proving to you that freedom has long been since dead.
No doubt about it, Eric. And you talked about Brandon Rau put in a mental institution. Tomorrow night's guest, Kristen Megan, was responsible for getting a lot of that information out. So it'd be interesting to get her take on it, on the situation. Well, I hope, I know that you've stood up for yourself down there where you're at, and I hope this isn't some kind of an attempt to get you pesky sovereigns out of the way. But
well,
you know what?
We were officially declared 2 weeks ago that it wasn't just the Southern Poverty Law Center, but the FBI physically came out and said that they were adding all sovereign citizens to the terrorist list, that we are officially public enemy number one and homegrown terrorists. I mean, that's a reality. So I have to understand that I knew I was on a course where I would be on a direct impact course with the state. I knew it. I know how my life is, and I know what I'm doing, and I don't care. There are a lot of people that say I should try to stick around and I should do this and that and another, but I'm not going to be a political prisoner for the next 15 years. I'm going to die on my own soil. I'm going to die on my own feet. And, that's how it's going to be. It is the same thing that started the revolution many, many years ago, which brought forth the ideas of freedom and liberty. And that's where I really stand. We continue to talk about these issues, but I don't feel that we'll be talking about them for too much longer. Because people who are affiliated with me, I mean, you simply by having me on the air, because I am officially now a terrorist, that's what they call me, because I am on the air, you are aiding and collaborating with the enemy of the state.
That's right. So, or giving support to a belligerent actor such as yourself.
Correct. And under the NDAA, that means Charlie McGrath, simply for talking to me on the air and allowing me to speak, could be thrown in a bus or a van or something like that, black bagged and taken away. And, this is the reality of where we live. It's a very somber awakening. And what I was looking for was things in society, because it didn't matter. I give documents that's 100 years old. I tell people to go back and understand what the Organic Act of 1871 is and understand what these different documents are. Well, what I was looking for was a present day catalyst, a present day thing that would help you understand that everything I have said about where you're going and where you are is reality. And this is where you're coming. With the way the RNC is coming together, with the use of troops and violence of every protest imaginable, now even if you protest your local police department, you have nothing but riot gear cops come out and beat you down, shoot your wife and children with rubber bullets, sick dogs on you.
And the preemptive, and even the preemptive, it's kind of like, Eric, I guess it's kind of like, looking at J.P. Morgan's statement about headlong into financial meat grinder, right? Or Bernanke's statement is plunging off a cliff. They're forewarning us what's coming. They're telling us what they're about to do. So we still, in comparing it to the news media outlets of the day, telling us who is a terrorist, telling us who is going to be rounded up. This is why we see, I believe, this never-ending stories, especially recently. When I'm talking recently, I'm not talking years. I'm talking in the last several weeks and months of anybody who shows up at a what's it called, special security event and thinks outside the lines. That's a terrorist right there.
Absolutely. I mean, free speech zones.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is just, it's ridiculous. And now you have them. It's not just one city, by the way, but there's hard to confirm. But I know that the Huffington Post, I called over there and I was talking to one of the writers, and he was talking to me a little bit, and they are actually working on an article talking about the Black Hawk urban combat training is going on in 5 major cities across the U.S. in 4 different states. I mean, the reality of what is coming, it is. We've talked about it. We've talked about it in depth, and a lot of people, they believe, they say, oh yeah, it's coming. They want to know when. It's here. It's in your face. Anytime that the state lines up 3,000 soldiers and says, if you don't vote the way we want, and you don't do what you're told, and you want to make some noise, we're going to come beat you down, and we're going to throw you in a prison cell. Well, then that's the writing on the wall, my friend.
Absolutely.
There's no way to say you don't live in a tyrannical, militarized, fascist dictatorship. It is a two-party dictatorship. It is a game, and that's where you live.
And that's not even that, really. I mean, it's the illusion of a two-party, illusion of you have some kind of say or choice or outcome, can have some kind of outcome on your future, but it's a lie. It's a complete and utter lie. And Eric, this rhetoric of who is to be, we need to warn people about. We need to warn people about anybody who protests. If they protest and they do anything outside of the box, again, they're an anarchist or they're some kind of terrorist. This, I believe, will see a reduction of what it takes to be put into that category. If somebody talks out against the banks, well, they must be a financial. They must trying to upset the economy of this country, trying to implement some kind of financial terror. They're a terrorist.
I mean, if you look at the definition, the way the NDAA is, anyone who works in force or intelligence against the interests of the United States, which means banking, which means supply, which means military. They got everybody.
They got everybody, man, and it's not a matter. Again, it's not a matter of if we're going to see this Uber crisis. It's just a matter of when. Eric Lovely, thank you very much for your Tuesday night appearance. We'll see you again on Thursday, first hour. Talk about some current headlines. Probably want to cover some news out of the so-called Republican Red Team Convention. I shouldn't say so-called. That's exactly what it is. Eric Lovely, thank you very much. Guys, hang tight. We're going to have Siobhan Piercy on in about 10 minutes. We'll see you then. And Todd, they were able to reroute the stream, and we should be up and running just fine right now. So, again, I apologize, but these things happen. Hopefully we're up and running because I'm trying to find the feed on my recording device, and it's not there. All right, now we're up and running. Okay, so thank you very much, Eric Lovely. Hour number one. If you're listening and not in the chat room, get in there right now because we have a guest that is very interesting, and we're going to go all kinds of different places tonight, I believe, because neither one of us can pick a topic that we want to run with. So we're just going to kind of go open to topics out of the chat, open to topics from Siobhan. Now, I was just going to ask you before the break, Siobhan, Operation Humanity Transcending. That's your book, right?
Yeah, that is my book.
Tell us about it. First of all, welcome back to the program.
Thanks.
I was on with you for 30 seconds on Ladies' Night once, and then I got kicked off. I wasn't.
Yeah, we had enough of you.
Yeah, enough testosterone. You got rid of me, and it was an estrogen.
I'm totally joking. I like the male energy around too. We need both.
That's right. I agree wholeheartedly. You can't have one without the other. Yin and yang, that whole kind of thing. Right. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, let's see. Where would I start? Well, you asked about the book.
Yes.
So I guess I'll go there first. That book was like a cleansing for me internally. It was emotional, mental purging. I had been discovering all these interesting things about what we call the New World Order and our monetary system, and when I realized how money came into being, I was just like, wow, where am I in the Twilight Zone? And I learned about many, many different aspects of the control mechanisms in place on this planet, in place for humanity, for us. So I started compiling lots and lots of information, and let me back up a little bit. Before I wrote and before I even studied, I had started learning about the food and GMOs and the pesticides and all the problems with our food supply and all the people or entities rather behind those problems, some like the FDA and Monsanto, and how these regulatory agencies are lying in bed with the corporations, and they go and work for the corporations, and then they come back.
The rotating door.
Yeah, right, the revolving door. And so I had opened up, after I became knowledgeable about that stuff, I had opened up with a friend, a little organic food place And we were open for a couple of years, and we kind of were unwise with our money, so we blasted through our money, and then we ended up shutting down. But that was okay, because from learning about organic food and GMOs and all that, I then branched out into everything else that, you talk about in your show and that I talk about on my show. And so I just was rummaging through all of that information, and I guess in a way I just got this idea to write a book about it. And what it ended up being was I really was able to process the whole of what I had taken in information wise and make it make sense for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that by relaying facts and relaying documented events throughout our history that lead up to why we are here now, right? So for an example would be like United States public education system and how it was designed with communism in mind, the people who set that up. And then you have like families like the Rockefellers basically contributing, funding wise to every Ivy League school, all sorts of universities. So, we think we're free, but we wake up to realize how unfree we've been and how unconscious we've been. And so I wrote about all of that, the secret societies, how our presidents, well, they're presidents of a company. We know that now, but, they're taking oaths above and beyond being president of the United States and defending the Constitution. And they're taking oaths with secret societies. We don't know what that stuff is. They can't even talk about it. So on the whole, that book was a real eye opener for me. As I wrote it, I became more aware and just really went in depth into some of these topics. So that's the story about the book. And there is going to be a part 2. I started
When did you
writing
write the
part
book?
2.
When did you write it?
I wrote the book in between 2008, 2009, or maybe 2009, because I copyrighted in 2010. So it was between 2008, 2009 that I was starting to write and compiling all sorts of information, watching documentaries, reading books, rummaging through old articles online. Like I found this article online from a newspaper. I think it was from like the 1930s or something like that. And it talked about how the devil is in the Vatican. That they do exorcisms in the Vatican, not just exorcisms, but like demonic rituals and stuff like this. So we're not, this is not new. Like, yes, we've been discovering this, but this has been known for so long. And so it's refreshing to see how people decades and decades ago wrote about this. Congressmen, it's in the congressional record, how basically the newspapers were bought up
Right.
by the Rockefellers and their affiliates and, cohorts, that they employed like 25 of the top editors in the country of the most popular newspapers.
Sure, they wanted to find out. It was a famous revelation on how many newspapers it would take for Rockefeller to buy up to control the media, right?
Exactly. That's what they wanted to know, how many papers they would need to buy up to be able to control the masses and to eliminate information that they didn't want going out. And they found out they only needed to purchase 25.
Right.
And they did. And so that goes back to the early 1900s. So, this country has been being, lulled and lullabied to sleep for such a long time. And I'm just excited because we're in a time where that's not so much the case anymore. People are waking up, on the internet here right now, me and you. I would not meet you otherwise, I'm sure. Maybe by some chance, but the fact that we can talk like this from anywhere in the world and exchange information, things are changing. The pendulum is swinging back around. We're at such a tipping point. I mean, that's what I think.
No, I agree with you. It is, and you're right. It's an exciting time, and we should have hope in the fact that people are connecting. They're getting out of the stringent paradigm. You talk about the 25 top papers in order to control the media, to control the public forum, at least the conversation in the public forum. No different today. I mean, we have, a handful of conglomerates that control most of the media. And if you even have an inkling of starting to wake up, you look at the mainstream media, and it takes you like I said, you can be partially awake and watch the mainstream and realize, man, this is anything and everything but news that is important to your future. It is nothing but propaganda. So these tactics that were employed decades and decades ago are still intact today. And in fact, Siobhan, I think they, being the powers that be, have done a masterful job in finding new ways to control the populace. Give them their bread and circus, give them their six-pack on the weekend and their cable TV and their sporting events, and they'll be a docile herd that will be uber easy to manipulate. That's the last time I'll use the word uber tonight.
Well, yeah, what you're referring to, have made it such a constant that we are bombarded with basically the concepts and the beliefs and the paradigms that serve their interests, but not ours. And that makes sense.
That is brilliant, and I'm only cutting you off because I want to make sure we get back to that. Serving their interests, not ours, and the paradigm set up to do just that. We're going to do our break now, but Siobhan, when we come back, and maybe during the break on Justin TV, we'll talk about this a little bit, but certainly on the backside of this break, I want to talk about exactly that and how that has leaked into society. Siobhan and myself, Charlie, will be back in 3.5 minutes. Hang tight, more Wide Awake News Radio. Right?
Cerisi.
Oh, my Lord in heaven.
Yeah, thank my parents.
Your parents are... What the H?
They were 60s children or 70s. What do you expect?
Well, Cerisi, say their last name for me.
Cerisi.
Cerisi. Okay, that is... that's just... Is that Italian? No, Greek? What is that?
Yeah, no, it's Italian. You're right.
Okay. So, there's no controlling that. You have what you have. When you add that with the first name, guys, oh, shoot. Let me stop that because I don't want that playing yet. When you add that to the spelling of your first name, it's pronounced Siobhan, which is a lovely name, by the way.
Thank you.
But it is spelled. I'm gonna do this now.
Go for it. Go ahead.
This is from Moon Unit and the hippie generation named you Siobhan, and I'm looking at it and I want to say Siobhan, Siobhan, and that must have been in school horrific.
Definitely. I mean, I always knew when they were going down the attendance list, especially if it was like a substitute, and they would just come to like a dead stop, and I'd be like, no,
that's
they're at my name. Yeah, actually, that spelling is it's like an Irish Gaelic spelling. That's how they spell it in Ireland.
Shut your mouth. I'm Irish and Gaelic, and is that true?
Then you better get with it, buddy, because ask some of your family members because I bet you they'll know about that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not Irish. Neither of my parents are, but they like the name.
I mean, it's pretty. So
cool. It's cool,
and it's different. So there you go. We talked a little bit about in the first part, and what you guys heard me doing there, stumbling around at the beginning, was I'm downloading an excerpt, a sample of the audiobook because I want to play that here in a little bit. How long is that clip, by the way? Like one of these clips?
I think that clip is like
72 minutes.
Maybe 11 or 12 minutes. No, it could be anywhere up to 20 minutes. I know each part is like 17 minutes or 20 minutes.
Zooks, I can get the whole book for free. Then it looks like.
No, there's more parts. There's 17 parts altogether. Let's see, I think the recording is like 5 hours long or 5.5 hours long. It's long.
Okay. All right. Well, so it's long. We've established that we're not going to give it all away. But
right.
The second half here, we'll play a segment of that book. I'm very interested. I'm going to get that book. Where can I get it?
You can get my book at lulu.com. It's Operation Humanity Transcending Part 1. And you can get paperbacks at lulu.com. You can get the Kindle version at Amazon. Or you can get the audiobook, which is narrated by me, and it was produced by a friend of mine who makes music, and I had a great time recording that. And that's also available on Amazon and cdbaby.com. So you can get it any number of ways, and there's samples on my website on the homepage of the first 3 parts of the audiobook, so you can check that out.
Which we'll maybe when we come back from break, we'll get into. We'll play that first sample. Your website is humanitytranscending.com. If you go there and you want to listen to all 3 of them after the program, then go ahead and listen to them. If you want to buy the book, there's links there to lulu.com as well as Amazon, where you can download the Kindle version. And I'm definitely going to get the book because I want to listen to it. And since I can download it, I can listen to it at the gym. Aha.
There you go. You can educate and, process all this stuff while you're at the gym. That's great.
Cleansing and processing, that's in your vernacular here.
It is. It's a lot of that lately. I do want to jump into something really quick because I want to make sure I talk about it tonight.
Do it.
Regarding geoengineering, right? And for those that don't, I'm sure most of your listeners, probably heard a little bit about this artificial manipulation of the Earth's climate. Oh, yeah. There's different ways they do this: solar radiation management and carbon sequestration and different things. But what's interesting is a lot of this has been being done like without our notice. Like they don't tell us. They're very roundabout about it. Like NASA and the Navy will tell you that they conduct like nighttime aluminum oxide cloud experiments, but they don't like advertise it. If you go on their site, they'll talk about it. These chemical releases to study cloud physics, is what they do. But what's happening right now is there is the first announced geoengineering experiment. So we're being given notice, and it's to take place in Fort Sumner, New Mexico this year. They didn't give a date. David Keith is part of the announcing of this. Bill Gates is part of the funding of this. And you have other geoengineering scientists, telling the people this and putting it out there. And what they plan to do is they want to use a balloon, a weather balloon, but it's going to be a pretty massive experiment. They're going to be looking to test, again, for the physics of the atmosphere when they do this. Of course, this is all under the guise of curbing global warming. Global warming's so bad that they need to do these risky experiments, basically to save the planet and implement some sort of remedy right now. Which, by the way, their remedy is counter to what they say they want to do. They say that they want to curb global warming, but with the solar radiation management, the persistent contrails, right? Those contain water vapor, and water vapor is a greenhouse gas also, and it traps heat. So they're actually making the planet warmer when they geoengineer using the solar radiation management. So it makes no sense whatsoever. But back to this experiment. So if you go on my website to the geoengineering page, humanitytranscending.com, or you can go to agriculturedefensecoalition.org and look at it there too.
Definitely will. In fact, I think it was Ellen Brown the other day we were talking about this exact same topic, but very, very important and very important to get educated about it. We're going to be back with Siobhan and more Wide Awake News Radio. 3.5 minutes. Hang tight. If you hang outside. Topic as well. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio, guys. Charlie McGrath here, and Siobhan. Say it again. Cerisi.
Cerisi. Yep.
Oh, I got it. Cerisi. Siobhan Cerisi of. Give us your website again.
www.humanitytranscending.com.
Yeah, because I almost went to Long Island Skywatch, and that.
Yeah.
Which,
and I also have a YouTube channel where you can visit me there too. It's actually everything I do online is under Humanity Transcending. It's either going to be Siobhan or Humanity Transcending. So I have a YouTube channel there. I do blogs for another website. You can just kind of punch that in and look for
Humanity Transcending.
Humanity Transcending.
Yeah, if you put that in a search engine, that's the first thing that's going to come up. And so I can look at your YouTube videos there as well.
If you go to my website or you just go to YouTube and type in Humanity Transcending, you could pull up my channel and scope out I put some of my radio interviews up there. Not all of them, because some of them are so long that it's just such a pain getting it, converting it to a movie to upload to YouTube. It takes so much time. So I have some radio interviews on there, and then other sort of little educational videos too. Very, very cool. All right. I know we have a guest on the topic, a caller on the topic of what you're talking about. So
if you're okay with it, let's go to our caller and listen to what Steve in Washington has to say.
Sure.
Steve, welcome to the program.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Good. How are you doing? Yeah, sound loud and clear.
Hey,
Excellent.
Steve.
As far as the sky seeking goes, as far as them chemtrails, stuff like that, what I've read and what I mean, you can look it up and kind of Google it around too, but the chemicals that they're actually using, and it's on topic, but it's off topic a little bit. Monsanto is actually engineering wheat that is like resistant to the chemicals that they're using, and also the acid rain that's actually being created by this, from the aluminum, the strontium, and the bromium that they're using, is actually killing the tops of the trees all across the Colorado Rockies. Now, last month, on the 5th, I drove my mother back from Indiana. We got stopped at 7 DHS checkpoints, okay, from Indiana to Washington State in a U-Haul.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
No, 7? I'm not kidding, dude. I talked to
7.
you like
what route? I mean, what route are you taking? I mean, because you might have come
straight across
from Montana.
90. Yeah, straight across
So
90, and 7 checkpoints. They were installing, the little the gates all across like Indiana and Kentucky. They were all installing the little gates that overpass and crap. This is getting ridiculous. And Monsanto is actually, they came out and said that basically that they're going to engineer a new form of wheat to combat the acid rain that we have now. Now, it doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. I mean,
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to, what she has to say about the actual chemicals that they're using, because that's what I'm concerned with. Male pattern baldness is up over the last 10 years. Yeah, that has something to do with it, too.
That's because we're getting older, Steve. That's all that is. But Siobhan, do you want to?
I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, where would you like me to start? I mean,
the chemicals that they're spraying, the actual chemicals themselves.
Well, the basic so-called geoengineering footprint that's been showing up for a while, it has been aluminum, barium, and strontium. That's changed since maybe I don't know, earlier this year or end of last year. We started finding less aluminum, and this was across the board. Michael Murphy talks about this too. Finding less aluminum and more strontium. So these are experiments. So they're trying different chemical, mixtures. Another one they're using is titanium oxide, certainly aluminum oxide, and sulfur. And this experiment in New Mexico, supposedly to go down not supposedly, it's already been announced, it's been reported by several news outlets. I'm saying supposedly in the sense that we're going to not allow this to take place. But they're planning on releasing, megatons of sulfur, or they could switch it at the last minute, why not, to aluminum or titanium. So it could be any number of those, plus unknown chemicals. Those are the ones we know about.
Yeah, it's a terrifying endeavor, and like you said, they're announcing this beforehand, letting us know what they're going to do, and the odds are there will be very, very few, maybe some in alternative media, that are trying to, or some activists trying to get attention drawn to this. But besides that's
what we're trying to do.
Right.
Rosalind over where she is, Agricultural Defense Coalition. I'm pumping this out too as much as I possibly can, because again, if we stay silent, then we're agreeing this time. They've been doing it anyway. I'm not saying they haven't been doing it anyway.
Right.
What I'm saying is that they're telling us they're going to do it. This is like, secrecy is one thing. Now they're saying, hey guys, we're going to release tons of sulfur into the atmosphere this year.
Right. Well, and this goes into...
What are we going to do? We must say something.
This goes into what Eric and I were talking about in the first hour, how it's just announced. I mean, we have all these big elite bankers coming out saying we're going to go into the meat grinder. We're going to go off the financial cliff. It's going to be worse than anything we've ever seen before. And la-di-da, here it is. Here it comes. So it's
Soros.
Yeah, right. They're letting us know what we're heading for. And, I mean, it's almost some kind of sick game that they're playing, that they know what's coming, and they know what they're going to pump into the air, and they know what's going to happen.
Well, Charlie,
yeah, go ahead.
Charlie, the thing that concerns me the most is, they're doing this now, but what about 10 years from now, when our kids or our kids are going to be paying for this. We're going to be paying for this 20 years from now.
Right. Well,
That's why we got to speak up. That's why now is the time to say something and do something.
I have been, but if I speak up too loudly as a veteran, they will take me away. So I can't.
That's right. And I'm of the thought, Steve, that you're talking about in 2011. I'm assuming last year you drove from Indiana to Washington.
No, dude, this was 2 months ago, or last month actually.
So you're in 2000. I mean, here we sit in 2012. You're going through 7 checkpoints, blue shirt checkpoints, the new Gestapo checkpoints, driving in the heartland of the United States. You're not. I mean, you're as far away from an international border and in the United States as you could just about possibly get, and you're going through these kind of checkpoints. Man, don't worry about 10 years from now. We won't even recognize this country 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Well, the Republic is pretty much. Here. I mean, if people don't really seriously just open their eyes and start really doing some research, then everything that we do, you're 42, I'm 40. And the other people out there that are a little older, we know what it was like growing up as kids. And all of that has completely changed now. And we need to do something about it. We really do.
And changing rapidly. You know what? You could be, you could take the last decade. You don't have to be 40. You can be 30 and realize that when you were 18, 19 years old, the country wasn't what it is now. It's progressively getting more onerous, and the boot of tyranny is coming down harder in the last decade, probably than any time in history. At least it seems to be the velocity of these changes seem to be happening quicker than any time in history. Steve, we're rapidly running out of time, so I'm going to thank you for the call. I appreciate you sharing your experience, and keep up the faith, brother.
I will. Take it easy.
All right, man. Thank you. Siobhan, I mean, it is a scary time, and I know you're only 29, so you probably don't remember all these.
33.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to be kind.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, it certainly does seem that not only are covert things continuing to roll, covert things that we don't even know. These military tests, these military style exercises through major metropolises throughout the country. These covert things are continuing, but now they're overtly telling us, "Hey, it's coming. Hey, we're going to pump your atmosphere full of garbage. Hey, you better get ready because the big death machine be rolling your way." We're going to be back with Siobhan and more Wide Awake News Radio. 3.5 minutes. Hang tight. Wide Awake News Radio, our final segment of the evening. We have Siobhan with us. We're talking about basically end of the world type things. We did with Steve anyway. Chemtrails, Georgia Guidestones. Even though we didn't talk about that, it was on my mind. I did drop into the chat room the Agenda 21 map, which shows the United States being broken down into sectors where humanity can live and where humanity can't live. I went ahead and put that huge link into the chat room. It was like 17 lines long. I apologize for that, but if you click on that, it'll show you the intent. The intent is real simple, to get humanity congealed into small little pockets and leave the rest, and Siobhan said she put this map, I didn't know this but because I haven't read her book yet, but she put this map into her book, and I want to, in this last segment, kind of focus back on that book, because it sounds like, Siobhan, you've done all kinds of research, and you put it into this work, correct?
Yeah, totally. Tons of research. And I cite stuff all the way through. Like, I didn't even do a bibliography. I would just finish a sentence and give the source.
Oh.
Because it needs to be, for me, it needed to be that way. I needed to know where I could find, kind of verify the information quickly, and
right.
find this stuff. So I got a lot of great sources that people can go check into themselves, if they want to know more, if they want to try to verify it or anything like that.
Let's do this. Let's go ahead and play a couple minutes at least of the first sample that you're giving away at humanitytranscending.com, correct?
Cool. Yeah, that's correct.
So if you like what you hear and you want to listen to a little bit more, you can listen to the rest of this sample, as well as 2 others, 3 samples total. And if you want to hear even more, you will have the ability to go right from that page at humanitytranscending.com and purchase the audiobook or a paperback. So let's listen to a little bit. This is you reading it yourself, right?
Yeah, this is me narrating.
Here we go. Here we go. Listen to your own voice. It's kind of creepy. Here we go.
Waking up. Ring the alarm. A tsunami of truth and revelation is sweeping our land, and indeed the entire planet. From the origins of our existence to our global enslavement, whistleblowers, insiders, truth tellers, and professionals from all paths of life are disclosing and revealing the jaw-dropping realities of our world that the majority of us do not get to hear about. Information is spreading like a wildfire, and it cannot be tamed. It needs to annihilate the old paradigms that have kept humanity in a state of disempowerment and mental slavery for thousands of years. And that's exactly what is taking place right now. Concepts and institutions that we are born into and ruled by are busting at the seams, making way for new actualities to come into existence and take their place. The amount of information available is endless, thanks to people working independently and in collaboration to shed light on the darkness that obscures our collective sight. They've been doing a tremendous job in their service to humankind by speaking out and sharing profound knowledge with the world. We are so fortunate to be living in the midst of an information explosion, for now we have an adequate amount of knowledge to comprehend the bigger picture of who and what we really are, where we have been, where we are now, and where we are going. No longer will we be manipulated to live in ignorance, for humanity is expanding its individual and collective understanding about our world, and more importantly, ourselves. We begin by actively questioning and investigating the consensus realities we adhere to on a daily basis. The stories told by our powers that be, which we base our lives on, are long overdue for examination and assessment by the public at large. Government, banking, economics, state education, and religion are just some examples of the current world order that most of us had no hand in consciously creating, but nonetheless our lives, our thoughts, and our beliefs are based on and revolve around these very institutions. The time has come to pay closer attention, to rely on our own intelligence, and embrace our innate ability to discern whether or not these institutions have a place in our existence anymore. Do they support humanity or hold us back? Are they representative of what we really want, or are they simply ways by which we can be controlled? Are we truly free citizens in America, or have we been manipulated into just thinking we are? Answering these questions requires a look at some facts, evidence, and history. The hidden knowledge, the deeply significant realities have not and will not become known to us through the nightly news, high school textbooks, our churches, or other institutions that provide us with what we assume to be valid information. The very basic process of research, investigation, and discovery has uncovered the truth regarding some of our most basic assumptions. Coming to know these truths will profoundly change the way we view ourselves, the world, and life in general. When we seek to understand our surroundings and environments in the broad sense, we come to realize that we operate under deeply ingrained paradigms and concepts that we were born into and programmed to live by. When we take a step back and look at the finer details of the bigger picture, we can recognize what we unwittingly uphold. These moments of realization are momentous. With each revelation, we become more conscious. From here, we can start asking the right questions, discover more truth, and make better, more enlightened decisions and choices as a result. The information surfacing for us to finally see has the capacity to launch our individual and collective consciousness into new ways of living and being. For example, up until around the turn of the century, we assumed that our genes controlled our destiny on this planet. You were born with certain genetics, these genes were set in stone, and they determined your biology. Now we know from the science of epigenetics that DNA blueprints passed down through genes are not set in stone at birth. In fact, genes alone do not determine our earthly destinies for us. Nutrition, stress, emotions, and environmental influences can modify our genes at a measurable physical level. We are all modifying our DNA on a regular basis just by doing things we naturally do, like eat, think, feel, and observe. Only we haven't known that. Now that we do know, we can do it consciously. We can be aware of what kind of information our DNA is receiving from.
All right, Siobhan, I'm gonna stop it there because we only have a few minutes left.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm glad we played that clip, and here's why. Because I mean, it's a good I guess it's a good overview of what the book's about. And are you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
And the thing I pulled out of that first couple minutes is examination, and we talked about that earlier in the program, and I wanted to get back to that. You know, this questioning, this examining the current paradigm, and how it is starting to break. It is starting to break down. We're seeing more and more people come to alternative media, come to even self-realization that it's all a pack of filthy, disgusting lies for the most part when it comes to the infotainment industry. Yet we still have, I mean, there's still enough people out there, the majority, let's say, because it's true, that want to buy into this normalcy bias, right, of having a red and a blue and a left and a right, and that we see those emotions being right now catered to in this upcoming non-election.
Oh, another joke, but I'm happy to see that, you know, I heard there's a Texas judge, you know, if Obama gets reelected, there's going to be problems if they try to go where he's at, and the sheriff is backing him, and so, you know, it's kind of cool to see this, I don't want to say uprising, like violent or anything like that, but it's good to see that men and women in America will take a stand, and they're making that very clear. And you, like I said, from judges to, you know, to whoever.
Yeah, and I certainly see a lot of that here in the West. You know, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, the Dakotas. I mean, these are all very, very independent states. They always have been. The people out here are very resourceful because it's a smaller population, and you know, just going back to a few generations hence. You know, these people had to make do with what they had, and they had to be resourceful and rely on themselves. So I think that spirit is still alive and well here. And so, and I don't think it's coincidence where you start seeing a lot of people come out of this corridor of independence, right? Where you have, you know, a lot of folks. Steve Quayle is from the same town I am. Other folks are, you know, in this area, Montana, Colorado, all the way down to Texas, where, you know, you have people speaking out. How about on the coasts? Because, you know, we have Steve from Washington. I don't know if he's in the eastern part or western part, but I'm getting more and more people calling in, and guests from California. But how about New York? I mean, this is vast areas of population, not geography, but these are also areas that are certainly catered to by the powers that be to make sure that the lights are on and that there's, you know, a wash and bailout cash, that kind of thing.
I guess so. There's a lot of people awake in New York, I feel like. 9/11 happened here, so it's been the center of something that there's global awareness about, as far as how the 9/11 Commission report doesn't add up with the physics of the matter. So everybody around the world knows that. So I don't know, New York, at least in my sphere. But then again, my sphere of influence and my sphere of friends and people are people that I want to keep in my life and have in my life, like minds, you know. I'm not saying that I won't be with not like minds, but I really have mostly like minds around me, and we don't always agree, but we're all aware of a lot of things, and so I think generally it's just spreading so fast, that awareness. The book is like a really great eye-opener book, like for people who know about this stuff too. You'll probably learn something that you didn't know before, or you might already know. But,
all right, tell us. We got the music going. So tell us real quick. Where can we look for the book? HumanityTranscending.com. You can listen to. I'm finishing that thought for you, Siobhan. Sorry.
Yeah, you can find exactly where Charlie said. HumanityTranscending.com.
That's right, and you can listen to the rest of part.
Amazon.
Right, and you can listen to the rest of part 1 there, 2, and 3. And if you want to continue reading or listening, you can purchase it there. Links are provided there. Siobhan Cerisi, thank you very much. I appreciate it. When's your program on? Quick.
My program is on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Toxic Reality Radio. Freedom Friday Nights with Humanity Transcending.
That also,
Did I get that all in time?
You did, and that's on your site as well, right?
That's on my site, too. Everything I do outside of my own little book, with other people, I have links to that on my website, too.
Siobhan, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me for an hour. Guys, tomorrow night we have Christine Megan on. Please tune in for that. It's going to be a very interesting interview. Enjoy Jeff Rentz. He's coming up next. Have a good night. Peace.